Asato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityurma amritam gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om, lead us from the unreal to the real. Lead us from darkness unto light. Lead us from death to immortality. Om, peace, peace, peace. Om, Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Somebody was asking the meaning of this Dakshinamurti, the south-facing form of Shiva. So the word Dakshina has multiple meanings. One is Anugraha Shakti, the power of grace. So Dakshinamurti means the south-facing deity embodies grace, kripa, anugraha. What is the special grace here? The grace is that knowledge which Dakshinamurti imparts, by which we overcome all suffering, attain fulfillment, attain moksha. So that teaching, that is the expression of grace. That's one meaning. Protection is another meaning. Rudra yatte dakshinam mukham te namam pahi nityam. So, O Rudra, O Shiva, from your dakshina mukha, your south-facing face, protect us forever. So that is protection, Shiva's protection. Another meaning is Dakshina also means the right. So left and right. One meaning is the right hand side. The heart, we have the biological heart on the left, but the spiritual heart which we meditate upon, where we meditate on the deity, when we do meditation, that is to the right of the biological heart. That is more to the center of the chest, or towards a little to the right of the chest. That's where we meditate, when we meditate. So Shiva, who is in that right side of the heart, or right side of the body. Another meaning is that which faces death. So Dakshina in the sense of death. And Shiva is confronting death. Dakshinamurti is confronting death and showing us the path to immortality. That's another meaning. Just this morning at breakfast, somebody mentioned that Dakshina, if you look at the Latin, the Italian word for right is dextrus, dextra, dakshina. You can see the common roots there. So these are various meanings of the word dakshina, Dakshinamurti. All right, so in one sense, all of Advaita Vedanta can be seen as a commentary and explanation of the Mahavakya, the great saying, tatwamasi, you are that. That's the central teaching of Vedanta, tatwamasi. You can put it in other ways also, aham brahmasmi, I am Brahman, but it means the same thing. You are that, that's the central teaching. And here in the Dakshinamurti Stotra also, that's what's going on. The first 3 verses are a commentary on an explanation of that you are. Tatwamasi. The way to understand that tatwamasi, you are that, is to analyze the 2 words, you and that. Here, you means I, the individual, us. So, what am I or who am I? That's the first thing. That who am I question is an analysis of the term tvam, you, meaning the student, meaning us. Exactly what am I? And then next will be the analysis of the term that, meaning the power behind this entire universe. And finally we will come to an identity. You are that, or I am that. So 3 steps. One is analysis of who am I? The you term. And then next is the analysis of that, tat. And finally the identity. That is equal to you. You are that. Atman is Brahman. That's the final step. Now if you look closely at the Dakshinamurti Stotra, you will see what's going on here. This is layer after layer of meaning and interpretation. It's extraordinarily skillfully done. So in the first verse, which we did yesterday, which is probably the most important and certainly one of the most beautiful verses in all of Vedantic literature, if you see carefully, what was done was an analysis of ourselves, our own experience of the universe and what we truly are. And what we discovered there is that we are consciousness. And this entire universe, whatever we are experiencing in this world, is an appearance in consciousness. It's illumined by consciousness, it's an appearance in consciousness. That's what we did yesterday. And it was an analysis of the term tvam, you, in the sentence tatwamasi, you are that. That was the conclusion we reached after analysis. Before analysis, what does the term you mean? I, this person, body, mind, this personality. That's what it means prior to the analysis, prior to the vichara. After the vichara, after the inquiry, we come to this one consciousness, one non-dual consciousness. That is the key to understanding Vedanta, and that's the key to understanding the whole of the Dakshinamurti Stotra. We must change that perspective, at least in our understanding, before we do it in a vital, living way. We have the advantage of this amazing lake, which is a very good example for Vedanta. So I would urge all of us that when we walk by the lake, when we take a look at the lake from the window of our rooms, we notice the 4 features which we discussed yesterday. Notice that all the amazing things you can see reflected in the lake, in the waters of the lake. Wherever there is a reflection, the lake must be there. It's not possible otherwise. A reflection is not possible. Although the fact that it is a lake seems to recede into the background. The colors, after some time when the sun goes a little higher, you'll see the colors will be so vibrant in the reflection. In the clear waters of the lake, you will see the forest and the brilliant fall colors and the blazing blue sky, luminous sky. It's so vibrant and so clear, you forget it is water. But bring to our minds that it is water. Whatever the amazing thing that you see there, it's water, water, water in the reflection, in the lake. Similarly, in all our experiences, the fact that all things we experience in life, what we call our life itself, is made possible because we are conscious, because of awareness, because of consciousness. So notice in all experiences, it is consciousness alone. As you would dip your hand into the lake to touch whatever reflection, if you try to touch, you will touch only water. Similarly, when we experience anything, let us note, like the water of the lake, it is the water of consciousness, let us put it poetically. It is this one consciousness in which everything is appearing. All experiences, whatever we see, hear, smell, taste, touch, whatever we think about, whatever we enjoy, whatever we suffer, whatever we remember, whatever we understand, in all our waking, in all our dreaming, and also in deep sleep, it is not lake, consciousness. It's a lake of consciousness. That's one takeaway when we look at the lake. The second takeaway is, notice, even though you see trees and leaves and sky and clouds and birds in the lake, reflection, there are no trees and leaves and sky and clouds and birds in the lake. There aren't. It would be a very wet bird which got into the lake. So, it's an appearance. Whatever is a reflection is an appearance. Whoever we experience in our lives, wherever and whenever, time and space, whatever and whoever, people and objects, they are appearances in consciousness. Consciousness is the reality, and the objects which we experience in consciousness are appearance. Each of them these things which I'm saying, is a major takeaway, and also majorly counterintuitive to our usual way of thinking. To our usual way of thinking, consciousness seems to be something vague, something in the background, something nebulous. And these objects seem to be so real. No. It is consciousness which is the reality of all these objects. And these objects are mere appearances in consciousness. Such a thing. So at least, take it in 2 steps. There might be a resistance to accepting this. So take it in 2 steps. First step is, this is the teaching. Let's all just accept the teaching. In the sense that Shankaracharya, Vedanta is telling us whatever we experience are appearances in consciousness. Whether I accept it or not, that's secondary. But this much is clear that that's what's being told to us. Next, let me do the mananam, the thinking, the reasoning about it. What are my objections against this view? What are the arguments? What are the possible answers? So slowly the internal resistance melts away. When the intellect says, yeah, it's possible. First it will say it's possible. Next it will say, it is this. This is what it is. These are appearances in consciousness. Second takeaway. Whatever, whoever, wherever, whenever, time, space, object, person, whatever we experience in consciousness, these are appearances in consciousness. Third, just as the lake is not affected by the reflections, mirror is not affected by the reflections. Similarly, consciousness is not affected. The body might get scratched, consciousness doesn't get scratched. The mind might get depressed, consciousness doesn't get depressed. It's like light illumining. Light is not affected by what it illumines. As the classic saying goes, if the sunlight falls on drain water, it doesn't get polluted. If it falls on Ganga water, Ganges water, it doesn't get purified. Sunlight is light. Similarly, I, the consciousness, no matter whatever I illumine, whatever appears in me, I am not affected by it. I remain as consciousness, ever pure. No matter what the experiences of life. So tremendous takeaway. Asanga, unattached I am. Third takeaway. I am not affected by the objects I illumine. Fourth takeaway. The most subtle and difficult of them all. Notice in the water of the lake, it is non-dual with respect to the reflections. You may see hundreds of trees and millions of leaves there of an endless variety. Yet there is no variety, there is only oneness there. There is only water there. And there is no variety there at all. It is only water. It appears in these ways. So the water of the lake is non-dual with respect to the reflection. Or the reflections are non-dual with respect to the lake. They are not countably a second. Although you can actually count them. You can count, here are these trees, those are the different colors I see. But if you see, it is just water, water, water. And lake Advaitam, non-duality in the non-dual lake. Similarly, you are consciousness, whatever appears, tremendous variety of entities may appear in you, and yet you are the one non-dual consciousness all through. You were, are, and will be. Choicelessly so. So whenever this is the meditation on the lake. This is the takeaway from the first verse. Now we come to the second verse.
The first verse is about
Twam. First verse is about Twam.
and the fourth point is said about it being non-dual.
Yes.
So ultimately, are we going towards this fact because it's only appearances? Is it non-dual or is it the only one?
I'm sorry?
So would the fourth point then be non-dual if second point be appearances?
Yes.
Fourth point be non-dual, or should we understand it as consciousness?
Oh, so consciousness is only one or non-dual? That's all right. That's all. It is the actual Upanishadic phrases in Chandogya is ekam eva dvityam, one only and non-dual. The reason we say it's non-dual is duality is appearing, multiplicity is appearing. Even while it's appearing, Vedanta, the knowledge of Vedanta negates that appearance. So if you say one, it does not address the fact that many are appearing. When you say non-dual, even though many are appearing, it is actually one. That's the teaching. But the actual phrase is one without a second. Ekam eva dvitiyam. Now, second verse. Bijasyantarivangkuro jagadidam pragnirvikalpam punaha maya kalpita desha kala kalana vaichitra chitrikritam. Mayaviva vijrimbhayatyapi Mahayogi vasyasvechaya Tasmai Shri Guru Murtaye Namaidam Shri Dakshinamurtaye. To him who like a magician or like a mighty yogi displays by his own will this universe, undifferentiated in the beginning like the plant within the seed, but made afterwards picturesque in all its variety in combination with space and time created by Maya. To him who is incarnate in the teacher, to him in the effulgent form of Shiva facing the south, to him Shiva be this salutation. What is this universe? Now our question, so we have an answer in the first verse to what am I? Now what is this universe? These are only two sides to our experience. Our experience is subject and object. I and all of this. Now I have an answer to who am I or what am I? Verse 1. But now our question should be, what is all this? And with reference to the Mahavakya tatwamasi, our question is now about tat, this. What is all this? Notice all of these are effects. Look at the amazing tree with its leaves ablaze with fall colors and branches and roots standing tall and mighty. But it's an effect. We all know at one time it was a little seed. So from that cause, which is the seed, has come this effect. And that seed itself came from an earlier cause. It is the effect of an earlier tree. And that tree itself was an effect of an earlier cause. The seed minus 2. So, like this, there is a chain of cause and effect. From seed to tree, and then another seed comes, from that another tree comes. And that is true of all of us living beings, but also of the non-living things, of all matter and energy. They were in other forms before they were in this form. This chair, it's an effect. There was metal which was mined from the earth. There is various kinds of organic materials which were maybe plant-based products, and they have been put together. It's an effect. But the materials out of which they have been put together, they are the causes. And the causes have their own causes. They came from somewhere. If we trace it back, notice it's a time-based thing. Earlier time to present time, from cause to effect. Cause precedes the effect. The cause is always before the effect. In that case, when we are tracing, we're asking what is all this? When we are tracing from effect back to cause, we are going back in time. We are going back in time. As we go back in time, logically speaking, we'll come to the cause of all causes. First cause, this is one way of thinking. There is some cause, whether it is in science or religion. Science will say, all of this started with one thing, one event called the Big Bang. Billions and billions of years ago. Space, time, energy, matter, all of it started with a Big Bang. And in religion, especially the theistic religions, they'll say it started with God. The first cause. God is the first cause. God created this universe. In Vedanta, the answer takes this form. This is the basic theme of the second verse. The answer to what is this in Vedanta, the answer is, I'll give you the Sanskrit phrase first and then expand on it. Brahman is the abhinna nimitta upadana karana of the Jagat. What does it mean? Of this universe, this manifested universe which we see, the tree. What is the seed? The one cause of all of this is Brahman. But what kind of cause? Causes can also be of two kinds. If you look at this chair or this table, there is a material out of which this table is made, wood. The table is the effect and wood is the cause. In Sanskrit, karya, karana. Karya, effect. Karana, cause. The effect, table. The cause, wood. This one. You touch it, you say touch wood. So this wood is the material cause. the material out of which this effect is made. But we also know a lot of skill and work, hard work went into making this table. So there was an intelligent being which made this table. So we call it the intelligent cause. In Sanskrit, don't bother about the Sanskrit terms, but it's good to know. The upadana karana, material cause. And the intelligent cause is the nimitta karana. There's an intelligence behind this table. That's the difference between religion and science. Science will say the intelligence is much later. And universe was produced and it evolved without any intelligence to guide it. That's what science will say, at least the school level science which we have read. Cutting edge physics in cosmology becomes stranger every day. So, religion will say that there is an intelligence. There's not only a material behalf of this universe, but there's also obviously there is a material, but there's also an intelligence behind it. And Vedanta's take is that the intelligence and the material of this universe are one and the same thing. Abhinna nimitta upadana karana. Nimitta karana, the intelligent cause. Upadana karana, the material cause. And abhinna means non-different, identical. So according to Vedanta, what is the first cause? What is all this? It's cause and effect. If you probe further and further, you'll come to the first cause. What kind of first cause is it? It is one and the same material and intelligent cause. And the name for that is Brahman. Brahma. What Brahma is it? It is not the pure consciousness, non-dual consciousness we talked about yesterday. It is that non-dual consciousness with the power of Maya, the power of projecting. So this is the theme of the second verse. The answer to the question, what is all this? There is existence consciousness bliss with the power of Maya, which is the material and intelligent cause of all of this. That's the deep answer to all. Now we'll go even further, even deeper. The question we must ask is, what is the relationship between cause and effect? How does cause become effect? What's the relationship between? What is causation? And that's an ancient question. Even today scientists are struggling with it, and the answers are becoming very complex and very deep. We still haven't understood what causation is. The Advaitin, the Vedantin will smile when we say, even today with our cutting-edge science, we can't understand exactly what causation is. He will smile and say, because causation is Maya, you can't understand it. Its incomprehensible, ultimate incomprehensibility is showing that you are getting very close. You know, in the New School in Manhattan, there was a conference a few years ago on unknowability. Unknowability. Unknowability in mathematics, unknowability in physics, even unknowability in English and in history. So various kinds of unknowability. And there was one professor, mathematician, physicist. He wrote this book, Impossibility, if you look at it. Barrow. John Barrow. He gave a very nice talk. And he said that in every field, when you advance sufficiently, whether it will be biology or chemistry or physics or mathematics, you will end up with paradoxes. We expect we will complete the field, we will finish the study. Everything will be explained. At the level of chemistry, at the level of biology, it will be explained. But if you push it far enough, you will end up with a paradox. That's what 20th century, and of course 21st century, but 20th century science discovered that. Up to 19th century, people were confident that now we are going to complete science. Mathematics will be a complete system. Physics will be a complete system. Chemistry and biology will be complete systems. But no. I remember reading this biologist who says about life. When I try to understand what exactly life is, I'm quoting this biologist, at the level of the body, of the organs, I go deeper. I realize I have to study the organ itself, it is not explanation. I have to study the tissues. When I come to the tissues, I realize I have to study the cells, what's going on there. Otherwise, I can't understand life. When I come to the cells, I have to study the intracellular processes inside the cell. And then I go down to organic matter, and I find at some point, life has disappeared. His words are, life has slipped out of my grasp. And when I say, I missed it, some point it started. So I work my way upwards. And I find at some point life has almost miraculously appeared. It's so slippery. We can't find the clear margin, the boundary. One Professor Massimo, who's going to come and give a talk at the Vedanta Society, he said that, Swami, today, at one time it was thought that life is a mystery, but today life is not a mystery. We have understood life down to its molecular level, the processes, and that's a good enough explanation for me. I said, okay, that's great. But then I talked to another doctor, and he said, no, that's overconfident. We don't understand. There are great areas of incomprehension and, sort of assuming many, many things. So, life. But that's not just true of life, of everything. Physics. People are there who are specialists in physics. You will know at the boundaries of physics there are mysteries. The great mysteries. It's not, they say there's a scandal at the heart of physics. That the extremely tiny and the extremely vast seem to work on two different physics. An inability to bring them together. Mathematics. There was a great professor at the end of Hilbert, I think, who at the end of the 19th century, beginning of 20th century, he gave a program for the completion of mathematics. That if these theorems are proved, and then we will have a complete system. I think it was Gödel who smashed that idea forever, that you cannot have completeness in mathematics. If you try to get completeness, you'll become inconsistent. If you try to get consistency, it will become inconsistent. Anyway, the point is, if you push hard enough, you will come to paradox. And that's true of causation. At the heart of all this is causation. In ancient times in India, they grappled with this idea of causation, causality. To understand this universe, they realized, when you ask the question, what is this? They realized we have to understand what is causality. Multiple theories came into play. Each school had its favorite theory of causality. The ancient Indian metaphysicians, the Vaisheshikas, the Naiyayikas, logicians and metaphysicians, they had a theory of their own. And the ancient school of the Sankhyans and Yogins, they had a theory of their own. What's the difference? What are these theories? The way the ancient Indians conducted the debate on causality was this. They asked the question, does the effect pre-exist in the cause in some form? This is the question. Is the effect utterly new, or did it pre-exist in some other form? Has been created ab initio? The cause gives rise to a new effect. That's one theory. Or the cause just manifests itself into the effect. That's the second theory. It was already existing in some form. It changed its form and appeared as the effect. Second theory. So there's pre-existence or no pre-existence of the cause. Today we are familiar with pre-boarding and pre this and pre that. So pre-existence of the cause. This is called asat-karyavada, sat-karyavada. Karya, effect. Asat means non-existent effect. Remember, when is it non-existent? Is it non-existent in the cause? There was no effect in the cause. There was no tree in the seed. The seed is gone and now a new thing has come. It's called a tree. Who says this? The Vaisheshikas, the Naiyayikas, ancient schools of metaphysics and logic. Now, opposed to this are the Sankhyans, the Yoga school, Sankhya school. They propose a theory called Sat-Karyavada. No, they say the tree pre-existed in the seed. It was just manifested. What are the arguments? If you say, oh Vaisheshika, oh Nayayika, if you say that the tree is new, utterly new, it did not exist in any form, the seed was something different, it's the cause, it's gone now, and now it has become a new thing called a tree. Its effect is quite new. Look at it. The tree is so different from the seed. So it was certainly not in the seed. First of all, the tree is huge. The seed was tiny. The tree is variegated. It has roots and branches and leaves and stuff. And the seed doesn't have any of that. The tree can do many, many things. And the seed cannot do those things. And the tree can make flowers and fruits and all. Yeah. The seed can't do that. Look at the linguistic difference. We call it a seed for a reason. We call it a tree for a reason. So, enormous difference. Therefore, the tree is new. It has nothing to do, it's different from the seed. It was not there in the seed. The Sankhyan says, if the effect was not there in the seed in some form and it is new, then it is not connected with the seed and you are destroying causality itself. Causality means the cause and effect must be connected somehow. You see, what will happen is, the Sankhyan says, that in that case anything can be produced from anything. There is no connection between seed and tree. Then you can, the old classic example they will say in Sanskrit text, that you can produce mustard oil from sand. How do you produce mustard oil? They would crush the mustard seeds. But if there is no connection, if the mustard oil did not pre-exist in the mustard seed in some form, you just crush sand, then mustard oil should be produced. From an apple seed, a mango tree can be produced. Why not? There is no connection then between cause and effect. This is not causality. You are saying the effect has come out of nothing. You are basically saying this. So the Vaisheshika will say, okay, wise guy, what do you propose then? We say that the effect existed, pre-existed in the seed. The tree pre-existed in the seed. The Vaisheshika will say, that's crazy. Can you see branches, leaves, roots in the seed? Nothing. Where is the tree in the seed? And the Sankhyan will say it existed as a potential. The information which goes to make the tree was already there in the material of the seed. Just given the right conditions, the soil and the air and the temperature and the nutrients, it manifested. And the manifestation is so grand and so tremendously different. Remember, they are not saying, the Sankhyan is not saying, the Satkaryavadin, those who uphold this theory, Satkaryavadin is not saying that you have an actual tree in the seed. What it's saying is there is a potential. The name and the form and the use of the tree are not there. The form of the tree is not there in the seed. The name of the tree is not there in the seed. It's called a seed, it's not called a tree. And the functions, the flowering, the fruits, and whatever it does, the photosynthesis, none of that is there in the seed. But the potential for all of these is there in the seed. And when it blooms, when it blossoms, and a seedling comes, why I am saying this seed and seedling, Shankaracharya will use it. When the seedling sprouts, you will see slowly the information coming into reality, manifesting. From unmanifest to manifest. This is causality. Satkaryavada. Pre-existence of the effect in the seed, but in seed form. In India you make, or everywhere basically, you make yogurt, curd out of milk. So the Satkaryavadin will say, curd pre-existed in the milk. The opponent will say, Vaisheshika, are you crazy? Then when you ask for curd, is it okay if I serve you milk? Here, think of it as curd. It's pre-existing there. No, it doesn't taste like curd, doesn't function like curd. You can't call it curd, you can't call it yogurt. It's milk. But what the Satkaryavadin is saying is that potentially it's there. You put it through the right process, it will become curd. And today, modern science, ever since, what was his name? Gregor Mendel. Mendelian genetics. We know that the Satkaryavadins were right on track. That actually, really there is information. Detailed information encoded in the genes of our body. It comes from our parents. The genetic information to make a tree is entirely there in the seed. It just unpacks itself. In computer science words, unzips itself and manifests as the whole tree. The amazing tree with its so many leaves, colors, and whatever is going on, you can see so different from the little featureless seed. And yet it was all there in the unmanifest form. So this is the Satkaryavada. What's our position? We are friendly to the Satkaryavada. We are friendly to the Satkaryavada. And so the Satkaryavadin, he says that everything was there in a potential form in the cause. In effect, it is manifest. From unmanifest to manifest is creation. Not a new thing appearing ab initio. New thing appearing ab initio in Sanskrit is called Arambhavada. Arambhavada means, literally it means starting. Startup. But even startup is not entirely startup. Because all the skills, ideas, potential, money, it stays with the entrepreneur, the capitalist, and all of them. All it's there in a potential form. It's just brought together and manifested. That's a startup. So all creation is startup. But startup means not ab initio. It is there in potential form earlier. Everything was there. It just became manifested. There is a problem with the Sankhyan theory also. The problem is this. If you are saying that the cause changed into the effect was already there in a potential form, it changed from potential to manifest. You said that. Now, what changed? What is the change itself? If change is not the creation of something new, then the cause will remain as the cause. If something new emerges when the change happens, where did that new thing come from? You see, they're talking in a global sense, it sounds reasonable. But when you become very minute about it, you make a circle and see these are the constituents of the seed. And these S1, S2, S3, S4, some of them changed into some new forms. That new form which came, was it pre-existing in that old form inside the seed, or is it utterly new? If it was existing, no change took place. If change took place, what is the difference? What is the origin of that difference? If you become minute about it, you will see this change and changelessness are contradictory terms. It's difficult to reconcile. And therefore, how is if you say from unmanifest it has become manifest, the same problem which is there with the Vaisheshika will come again. The manifest, is it in some way new? Is it in some way different from the unmanifest? If it is not, then nothing has happened. There is no creation. If it is different, then you have to explain this difference. Is this difference coming from a pre-existing unmanifest cause, or is it utterly new? If it's coming from a pre-existing unmanifest cause, then how did it become different? Is some difference there at that level? You see, when you push it very close, the solution is not to say that nothing new happened, it's come from unmanifest to manifest. Practically, that's what happens. But theoretically, in principle, it's difficult to reconcile. Now, we have these two ancient theories. They engaged in long, long conflict. You find it in the commentaries, in the Nyaya Sutras and the commentaries and sub-commentaries on the Nyaya Sutras, in the commentaries on the Upanishads and all, where each side attacks the other, trying to show whether creation, the effect existed in the cause, pre-existed, or is it something new? Both have serious problems. Now, here comes the Advaitin. The philosopher Arindam Chakravarti, in his inimitable way, he said that in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, Vedanta Gita, in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, where two opposing armies faced each other. Who are the opposing armies? Kauravas and Pandavas. Asatkaryavadin and Satkaryavadin. And it's an interesting play on words. Asatkarya technically means the non-pre-existence of the cause in the effect. The effect in the cause. But another way, if you take it in just common day-to-day parlance of Sanskrit, is those who do evil deeds. Asatkarya. Yeah. And those who do good things. The evil doers, the good guys and the bad guys. The Satkarya, those who do good work. That is Pandavas. And they come facing each other. Senayor ubhayor madhye ratham sthapaya me achyuta. Arjuna says to Krishna, put my chariot between the opposing armies. So the chariot of Arjuna and Krishna drives it between the two armies. Now remember, Krishna is partial to the Pandavas because they are the good guys. So the Advaita Vedanta is partial to the Sankhyans, to the Satkaryavadis. They are the good guys. But we cannot accept it. So what the Advaitin says is a variation of Satkaryavada. It's in between the two. it says that the Satkaryavada in the Sankhyan is right. The effect comes from the cause. It is pre-existing in the cause. It manifests. However, the Asatkaryavada is also right, because you cannot reconcile change and changelessness. If you say something new has happened, you must say that the effect, the cause changed into the effect. So, what the Advaitins wants to say is that, yes, it is true, the cause is, the effect comes from the cause, but not by transformation, not by change. The cause remains as the cause and appears as the effect. Remember what we are talking about. We are not saying that the seed remains as the tree, seed and appears as the tree. We are not saying milk remains as milk and appears as yogurt. That would be horrible. No. What we are saying is the ultimate cause of things, Brahman, remains as Brahman and appears as all of this. Cause, Brahman, remains as Brahman without changing. No Satkaryavada there. No Asatkaryavada there. But it appears as the effect. It appears as the universe. So, this cause remaining as it is and appearing as the effect. Rope remaining as it is, appearing as the serpent. The desert remaining as it is, appearing as the mirage. The lake remaining as it is, appearing as an entire forest with blazing fall colors and sky and clouds. That is the theory that the Vedantins, that the Advaitins take up. This is a new term called Vivartavada. Vivartavada, the theory of the cause appearing as the effect. Remember, we are talking about the ultimate cause here, the first cause. The ultimate cause, the first cause, appearing as its effect, the universe. This is called Vivartavada. Rope appearing as snake. Not that the snake pre-existed in the rope. Not that the rope got transformed into the snake. No, the rope remaining as a rope appears as a snake. Brahman, God, ultimate reality, whatever you call it, remaining as that appears as this universe. Why, we will see. He will explain it. Why does it appear like this? But here is the cause, the theory of causality adopted by the Vedantins, which is, at least from our perspective, a solution to the old, ancient battle between Asatkaryavada and Satkaryavada, the Kauravas and the Pandavas. Krishna is in between. This is the imagery given by Arindam Chakravarti. Very artistically put. Senayor ubhayor madhye, between the two warring armies of causality, is this Vivartavada. So this is distinguished. So Satkaryavada, the cause, the effect pre-existed in the cause, can now be divided into two theories, Parinamavada and Vivartavada. Parinamavada, cause is transformed into the effect. Seed is transformed into the tree. Prakriti is transformed into the universe. Sankhya. Whereas Vivartavada says, cause is not transformed into the effect. Cause appears as the effect, for some reasons. So Brahman appears as this universe. What is this theory? That the universe exists, pre-exists in Brahman, and it moves from an unmanifest state to a manifest state, from non-appearance to appearance, and back into non-appearance again. Vivekananda says, from seed to tree and back to seed again. And the underlying reality, Brahman, remains the same. We can understand it now. Yesterday I said the lake at night is very significant for Vedanta. Think about it. Just the lake and the reflected forest which you see in the lake. It is manifest now. At night, when the conditions are not right anymore, it will become unmanifest. There are no reflections in the lake. You cannot see the forest in the lake, but the lake still is there. And more amazingly, very important, crucially, this will be crucial later on when we confront the emptiness people, the school of emptiness. The lake is also not manifest. It's only when daylight, when the reflections are seen so vividly, that the lake also becomes apparent. Apparent to whom? Apparent to the one who understands it's a lake. If a person doesn't understand it's a lake, they'll think there's a forest in there, supposing. So if you understand it's a lake, it becomes manifest when there are reflections, you can see. But when there are no reflections, when there's darkness, the whole thing is covered in darkness, no reflections, you don't see the forest, reflected forest. But you don't see the lake either. Similarly, at the time of cosmic dissolution, the whole universe disappears. Seed state, Maya. And the universe is not seen. But neither is Brahman experienced. What do you mean by experience of Brahman? Experience of isness, existence, consciousness, awareness. Nothing is experienced. It goes back into an unmanifest state. The universe goes back into unmanifest state, and Brahman also is not manifested thereby. That's the state of pralaya, cosmic dissolution. Equivalent to our deep sleep state. In our waking state right now, what's manifest? Here is the universe. People, places, things, activity, dynamism, colors, shapes, sounds. But in and through all of that, we have learned yesterday, we must see that it is all appearing in consciousness. And consciousness itself is now vividly felt in these ways. But when we go into deep sleep, none of this will be there. This body also will be there, not be there, will not be apparent. Mind will not be apparent, no thoughts also. But also along with that, I am, this consciousness, that also will not be apparent. But it's there. The lake, just as the lake is there, even when there are no reflections in night, similarly in deep sleep and at cosmic dissolution, Brahman, Atman is there, but not apparent. So, I'm saying two things here. Atman or Brahman, pure existence, pure consciousness, is always there. And this universe, our question was, what is this universe? This universe goes through a cycle of unmanifest to manifest, back to unmanifest again. In Sanskrit, Gita says, avyaktat vyaktaya, from avyakta, unmanifest, to vyakta, manifest, back to avyakta again. This is the ancient famous Hindu idea of this cycle of creation. The dualistic schools take it literally. Actually, there's a universe which is produced and it exists and it goes on for some time, then it is dissolved again. God exists and then God creates again. Advaita Vedanta tweaks it and says nothing really has happened. The screen alone remained. The movie played, movie is over, switched off, the screen alone remains. Again the movie plays, movie is over, switched off, the screen alone remains. The movie remains in the memory stick or whatever it is, in a seed form. It comes out on the screen and it disappears back into that form again. This is the Advaitic idea of creation. Unmanifest to manifest, manifest back to unmanifest again. All the time it is the screen alone, it is the lake alone, it's Brahman alone. Yes. Now we shall look at the verse. Bijasyantarivankuro jagadidam. This universe was as if like a sprout, a seedling within the seed. Now clearly in this, now you see, which side is he taking? Satkaryavada. Vivartavada will come later. Satkaryavada. The effect was pre-existing in the cause. What is the effect? Seedling, sprout. What is the cause? Seed. What is the effect? World, Jagat. What is the cause? He says, Prag Nirvikalpam. Nirvikalpam means without any division. In pure consciousness, being, Maya existed, the seed, as the seed. No apparent division. In the seed there are no leaves, fruit, brilliant colors, root, branch. Nothing is there in the seed. No apparent division, but the source of all the division, the information for all of that is there. Similarly, in Maya, you don't have planets and stars and human beings and animals and lakes and retreats. And none of that is there in Maya, but the possibility of all of that is there. So, Prag, before the creation, Nirvikalpam, without any division, featureless, it existed. Featureless. But the potential for all the features is there. Then what happens? Punaha, again. Signifying therefore, this has happened many times in the past, endless times in the past, and will continue to happen in the future. Many, many universes coming and going again and again and again. Worlds without end. I remember one of the evocative phrases from my favorite science fiction author, Asimov. Isaac Asimov. The stars like dust. So when you're dust storm, you see so many millions of particles of dust fly around in the sky. In the cosmos like that, millions and millions, billions of stars. The stars like dust. So, Jagadidam, this world, manifest world, was featureless in the beginning, existing in Brahman or in a potential state. Then what happened? Maya kalpita desha kala kalana vaichitra chitri kritam. Because of Maya, imagined. See, now he takes the side of Vivartavada. If it was not Vivartavada, the Satkaryavadins, the Sankhyains would have said Parinamavada. Brahman is transformed into the world. It's an actual change into the world. A seed is transformed into the tree. Potential, now it's transformed, it becomes actual. Here, Shankaracharya says Maya kalpita. Imagined, projected, appearing in Maya, like a movie, like reflections. It's not that when daytime comes and the right conditions, it's not that the lake gets transformed into a forest. The forest appears. Potentiality for that was there, and it appears when the right conditions for manifestation are present. So I'm using the word manifestation, not actual creation, not actual transformation. Nothing has been transformed in the lake. That's a beautiful example. The lake as it was in the night, just water, is still exactly the same water. If you say, good job lake, such a beautiful reflection, the lake will say, what? I haven't done anything. Something was not evident, now it became evident. Something was unmanifest, now it has become manifest as this gorgeous reflection of the forest. Something was unmanifest, universe. Now it's become manifest in Brahman due to Maya. How does it do it? Desha kala kalana. The arrangement, kalana means the complicated arrangement, the setup. The setup of space, time, and you should add causation, because we are talking about causality. Space, time, causation. The stage on which this Broadway play of the cosmos is being staged, the stage is space, time, causation. With space, time, and causation, distance is possible, change is possible, causes and effects are possible. Karma becomes possible. Karma. Once karma is there, everything else will work merrily, like clockwork. You set in some force into motion, it will give a result. That result will give further results. The law of karma, births and deaths, the cycle of samsara becomes possible. The Upanishad will say how because of Maya, Brahman, Sankhyan will say, Prakriti was transformed into space, air, fire, water. The Advaitin will say Brahman appeared because of Maya as space, as air, as fire, as water, as earth. And by a combination of these 5 primitive elements, the worlds were created, our bodies were created. Indeed, even subtle bodies, minds also were created. Life was created by these 5 primordial elements. Basically, matter, energy, they appear on the stage of space, time, and causation. Appear. No transformation. Vivartavada. It's like the rope appearing as the snake. Vaichitrya chitri kritam. What seems to be utterly featureless, but there is a potential for tremendous diversity there. I gave the beautiful example from Kashmiri Shaivism of the peacock's egg. Mayuranda example, that inside the shell of the egg, you will find a colorless liquid. But it contains all the information for the brilliant plumage of the peacock later on in life. Give it time, under right conditions, when the chick hatches and it develops, you will see the extraordinary display of thousands and thousands of colors and various hues and combinations, all from that evidently featureless liquid. From that it has come. Vaichitrya chitri kritam. Diversity, brilliant diversity ensues. It's this universe here. And the Upanishad says, now, so there was no diversity earlier, it was Brahman, now it's the universe. That's what Parinamavada would have us believe. Vivartavada, on the other hand, says, now also it is the same featureless Brahman. When you see the brilliant reflection of the forest, now also it's just water. Same featureless water. It's difficult to wrap our minds around it. In the midst of all of this samsara, it is just one existence consciousness bliss. It's everything. How do you know? Check. And Vedanta gives us the way to check. How do you check that it's just water, not a leaf, not a tree, not sky, not clouds, not birds? How do you check? You touch it. What will you find? Water, water, water. You touch it here. What will you find? Existence, 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 awareness, awareness, it's all existence consciousness. Isness awareness. All the time. Check where it is not. In all our diversity, this is the underlying existence consciousness. In all our universe, all our life, there's only one thing there only. Existence consciousness. So yes, existence consciousness plus people and good and bad. No, no, no. You can't say there is water plus there are leaves and trees. No, no, no. It's just water. Then next, Maya viva vijrimbhayatyapi mahayogiva yasvechaya. The third line says, gives two examples. Like a magician, again showing his support for Vivartavada, not Parinamavada. What does the magician do? Appears to pull a rabbit out of a hat. The rabbit didn't come from the hat. But hat didn't produce a rabbit. So illusion. The magician is the master of illusion. Sri Ramakrishna said, the magician's magic is not real. The magician is real, however. The magician is real. Similarly, Brahman, the magician, is real. What's the power of magic? Maya, by which it itself appears as this universe. Remember, abhinna nimitta upadana karana. It is itself the material of the universe. It is itself the intelligent cause behind this universe. It is itself the existence of this universe. It is itself the consciousness in which all of this arises. Abhinna nimitta upadana karana. Another example he gives, great yogis like Vishwamitra, they are supposed to have the power of creating a universe by their own will. So like that, nowadays AI and virtual reality people are great yogis. They can, by the power of their own will, they can create, with some programming and some support from Google, they can create worlds, virtual worlds. Similarly, the great yogis could create worlds, swechaya, by their own will. Now, the language here, by your own will, it shows nimitta karana, intelligent cause. The first example of the seed and the sprout showed upadana karana, material cause. And the own will, just by the will of God, Ishvara. And it shows nimitta karana, intelligent cause. Here also little subtlety is there. If you take Brahman as the ultimate reality, Nirguna Brahman, pure consciousness, then there is no question of will there. Brahman, Nirguna Brahman has no will. It's just awareness. Then by the very presence of awareness, the universe is manifested. Will there be just presence, illumination, existence consciousness. And the universe gets manifested. And if you take Brahman as Saguna Brahman, Ishvara, Bhagavan, then it will be will. By the will of God, the universe is created, in a more religious sense. Tasmai, to that one existence consciousness, who appears as my Guru, to that Dakshinamurti be this salutation. Tasmai Shri Guru Murtaye Namaidam Shri Dakshinamurtaye. So the seed and sprout example, Bija Ankura, shows upadana karana. Brahma is the upadana karana, material cause of the universe. And the will, the yogi and the magician example shows the nimitta karana, the consciousness, the intelligence behind this universe. Another just conclusion I will just set before you before we go on. Brahman and the world, Jagat. Brahman is said to be the Brahman is the Vivarta Karana, Vivarta Upadana Karana of Jagat, and Maya is the Parinami Upadana Karana of Jagat. What does that mean? Brahman appears as this universe, and Maya is transformed into this universe. What is Maya? I have not gone into that. That requires multiple. Swami Vivekananda gave 3 lectures. You know, that person asked Swami Vivekananda, Swami Vivekananda was very pleased with him, a disciple in Calcutta, and said, ask for anything. And this gentleman said, then explain Maya to me. Obviously, the person had read Vedanta. He knows that Brahman is a simpleton, is straightforward, just existence consciousness, and directly experienced all the time. But Maya is the interesting question. So why at all? So Swami Vivekananda said, ask something else, not this question. And then this gentleman said, if with a guru like you, Vivekananda, if I cannot understand this question, answer, then I will never get it. So you have to explain what is Maya to me. So Vivekananda started speaking. Now, what he said that the person has not written, but we have a fair idea. Because he gave 3 lectures on Maya in New York. So those lectures on Maya are available to us in Jnana Yoga. People are very interested in Maya. Of all the talks I've given in New York, the one which has the highest number of views is one talk titled Maya. So this person sat and Vivekananda started speaking. He says, the room began to spin around me and everything seemed to disappear into a white light. My own body also. But I could still think, and I could still, Vivekananda also disappeared. I could just hear his voice, a voice in that luminous void. And he burst out saying, but Swami, in that case you and I are the same, and all the work that you are doing, your Ramakrishna mission, the monastery you're establishing, all of this is Maya. It's all within Maya. And then he thought, so this is a thing about Indian languages, you can address a person who is senior to you or revered as apni or ap in Hindi. In Bengali, apni, you, thou. But you address people who are close to you, intimate, either little children or people who are very close to you as tumi, or even more tui, tum or tu. And this gentleman is a disciple of Vivekananda. He's not supposed to address Vivekananda with the familiar you. So he realized he had said to me. That means to you in the familiar sense, to Vivekananda. The moment this idea came to his mind, difference, hierarchy, the world snapped back into place. And there was Vivekananda sitting there and looking at him and smiling and saying, responding to what he had said earlier, that all this is Maya, what you are doing, even Vivekananda, what you are doing, Ramakrishna mission, all these temples and monks and orders and religious, spreading Vedanta, all of it is Maya. Vivekananda said, yes, it is. If you can realize this, then meditate and be merged in Brahman, be one with the ultimate reality and be done with it. If you cannot, then come and help in this work. Vivekananda's teaching, let all vision cease. Or if you cannot, then dream but better dreams, which are eternal love and service free. The highest possible philosophy of life is unconditional love and unconditional service. I hold nothing back. Time, energy, money, love, nothing I hold back. I give endlessly and unconditionally. And to all, without any fear or favor. No question of friend, relative, enemy, no. Highest philosophy of life. And Swami Vivekananda says it's the best dream. It's still a dream. Beyond that lies Brahman. So, this is the second verse. What do we make of it, all of it? We'll see. Questions? We can take 1 or 2 questions. Please raise your hand and come forward. Tell us your name and ask the question.
My name is Raj Pava. I'm from Miami. First, I want to express our gratitude to Swami you for such an elegant presentation. So thank you for it. My question is the cause and effect. As you said, the seed, when it gives unreal, tree becomes real. When the seed comes, there are a lot of environmental factors which changes the gene to epigenetic changes in the gene. And then you have a different pictures. Now, my question to you is, from unreal to reality, we have different young generation and a generation of my age. And when the trees grows, the epigenetic changes which I observed in my life, and the epigenetic changes which the young people have arrived, how is going to affect our spiritual practices and thinking of young people versus old people? And the reason I'm asking, I have a granddaughter. She believes in things, but how it's going to affect the future generation?
That's a good question. First of all, notice the language used. I noticed the language which instinctively you used, from the unreal to the real. The tree was unreal, it became real. This is asat karyavada, the vaisheshika. You can see why it's so logical. It's instinctively we feel. That's how causality works. Something was not there, now it's there. And yes, there was a cause for it. The seed was there, and now there is a tree. This is asat karyavada. The tree was not there, unreal. It did not exist in the seed, but it has now come into being. Now, what does the Sankhyan say? Slight modification of this theory. Not from unreal to real, from real to real, from real unmanifest to real manifest. And what does the Vivartavadin say, Advaitin say? Only in terms of Brahman and the universe, not for seed and tree. The seed, the Brahman remaining as such, appears as the universe. That's all. Now, the real question, the epigenetics and the seed and the tree, the factors affecting the next generation. So the two things affect. One is nature, one is nurture. And what we can do, Vivekananda gives the answer, that you cannot teach. You can only provide the conditions for the natural development of the organism. So the gardener, he gives the gardener example, gardener model of pedagogy, of teaching. What the gardener does is, it does not force an apple plant to become an apple tree, does not force a mango seedling to become a mango tree. No. It provides the right combination of care, of nutrients, of sunlight, water, all of that, it brings it together, allowing what is there to manifest as best as it can. So both things are necessary. You can affect the epigenetics by the inputs you give, the environment, the sunlight you provide. What we are doing here is that. What Vedanta does is, it gives us the Dakshinamurti Stotra. We are developing from within. Our own swabhava is there. Something we have developed through many, many lifetimes. For that this will come in and become part of that, of our already existing inherent nature. That inherent nature is not Brahman, that's the coating over Brahman, which you have developed through many, many lifetimes. This will become part of that coating, and it will probably help us to uncover the reality there. So the answer to your question is, we have to provide the sunlight, the water, the nutrients, the proper environment, whatever best we can, what we have found to be best in our culture, in our environment, in India, in the West, and provide it to the next generation. Will the effect will be as we desire? No, and it need not be, probably should not be. It will be the way the young plant is supposed to grow. But we have to provide, if we provide a toxic environment, if we provide a noxious environment of hatred, of prejudice, of physical pollution, then the epigenetics will be bad. So the growth will be stunted. If you provide a rich, healthy environment with the best ideas. Okay, I'll give you one little story which I just remembered. Have you heard of President APJ Abdul Kalam? Yes, have you heard? Yes, so he was the President of India, an amazing person. Now once he said, I want to meet Swami Ranganathanandaji, who was the President of the Belur Math at that time. He was the President of the Ramakrishna Order. Now imagine, this person is the President of India. Ranganathanji is the head of our order. But because Swami Ranganathanji was not keeping too well, so it was impossible for him to travel to New Delhi. President Abdul Kalam said, I will come to Belur Math and meet him. So I remember that was a big thing at that time. The President of India is coming. I was in an institution just close to Belur Math at that time. I was a brahmachari in white dress at that time. And I still remember that because I love aeroplanes and helicopters. So 3 helicopters came to land with the President of India. And the President of India went to Belur Math from that institution, which has a very big lawn on which the helicopters landed. And everybody, including the monks, they all went to Belur Math to see the President of India. Oh, I was the only one left behind. And the pilot of the helicopter said, "Aren't you going to see the President of India?" I said, "No, I want to see your helicopter." He was so delighted, he took me inside the helicopter and showed me around. But then later I heard what happened when President Abdul Kalam went to meet Swami Ranganathanandaji. Now Ranganathanandaji was one of the most positive people I have met in my whole life, and many people will testify to that. Most positive. He couldn't take anything negative, anything critical. It was always positive. But even he expressed a worry to President Kalam. So one of the monks who was there in the room told me at lunch next day. He said, President Abdul Kalam was there, and he says that the President of India, he was just like a little boy. He's sitting at the edge of his chair, like this, with his hand forward. And this monk noticed his hands were chapped and cracked, no moisturizer, no attention to personal cosmetics or anything. And he was sitting forward eagerly at the edge of his chair, looking to Swami Ranganathanandaji. And Ranganathanandaji, this most positive of persons, actually expressed a worry to Abdul Kalam, saying that all the negativities in society today, I wonder what will happen to society. And Abdul Kalam was bubbling over with positivity, positive energy. And he said, Swami, don't worry, we have all these amazing texts and philosophies and ideas floating around in our civilization. All of this will be there and things will get better. It will, nourish this civilization in years to come. Now, both of them are gone now, Abdul Kalam and Ranganathananji, but they have left behind this kind of positive epigenetics, I might say. This is what we must endeavor to do. One last question and we'll end. We've actually gone over time a little bit. Yes.
My name is Abhijit Champanerkar. My question is with reference to the lake which you referred to, the lake at night, which is important for Vedanta.
Yes.
So the absence, the abhava, is that an appearance?
Absence of?
The absence of
specific features like leaves and color and all that.
Yes.
Is that an appearance? Yes, that's an appearance. So our experience of the lake at night is an absence. Not only is we don't see the leaves and the color and the beauty and diversity, but we also don't seem to see the lake also. It's still there. Similarly, in deep sleep, in pralaya, cosmic dissolution, the universe is not there, clearly. In deep sleep, the world is not there. I don't see my own body. I don't even see dreams. So the mind is also not evident. And so there is an absence. That's why I call deep sleep an experience of absence, not an absence of experience. It's an experience of absence. Even consciousness seems to be not there in deep sleep. Just like the lake seems to be not there at night. Consciousness seems to be not there in deep sleep because there is no specific thing which manifests consciousness. We will wait for the 6th verse where Shankaracharya will deal with this theme alone. When existence and consciousness seem to disappear, death, deep sleep, general anesthesia. What about that? We'll see. And that's a good way of actually understanding what pure consciousness is. Thank you so much.